Hi everyone, I'm Jeremy Kiszka. I'm a professor at Florida International University in Miami, Florida. And I wanted to talk to you about being a marine mammal scientist and give you a little bit of info on why I chose that career, how I got here, maybe give you a few tips and recommendations, and maybe talk to you a little bit about how I see this field of marine mammal science, if you can call that a field. At least it's a community for sure, and how it has changed over the past few decades. So, the first question that I was asked to answer is, why did I chose to be a marine mammal scientist? I think it's a very difficult question because it's really because of a passion that I've developed at a very early age for these animals, as far as I can remember, to be honest. And, I think my first encounter with marine mammals was when I was, 10 or 11. And so it really changed it changed my life. And then during my teen years, I always developed a passion for these animals and for oceans in general. I've also, explored a few things over the course of my career, different species, different questions. I think, I've always been very curious. Just a very strong passion for these animals, which drove me where I am today. I was, I really initially tried to get involved at a quite early age. I would say, 17, 18, I started. So I'm from France. And I started getting involved in, local NGOs. I was working, and I was based in northern France. Was living by the sea, by the North Sea, actually. And I started to get involved in local NGOs to do monitoring of local seal populations or harbor porpoises. That's really where I started. I got involved in the National Stranding Network. And by getting involved in those local NGOs and the National Stranding Network, who is still today coordinated by Pelagis, which is an observatory based in La Rochelle in France. It used to be called the Marine Mammal Research Center. And they coordinated this whole, and they still coordinate this whole stranding response. And I got to, meet with people there, and it led me to do a master's degree, and I studied the spatial distribution and feeding ecology of cetaceans in the Bay of Biscay in the Northeast Atlantic, and then it led me to other things, especially a PhD later on. The first advice that I could give you if you want to pursue a career in marine mammal science is really to try to get involved as early as you can, to the best of your ability. Sometimes it's very difficult. To me, it was difficult financially because, the summer jobs that I could, that I had some opportunities to do, I was pretty much replacing my summer jobs by internships. And it was definitely a financial burden. So if you can get involved, do it, because it will give you amazing opportunities later on. So, and after my master's degree, since I was so involved, and I got to get a job right after my master's degree, and I left 10,000 kilometers from my hometown in France to go to the Indian Ocean, where I still do some research on marine mammals. I left and started doing my own thing, and then got my job monitoring marine mammals there. But then I really wanted to do a PhD, so I did this PhD with the university in La Rochelle, where I actually did my master's. So, I would say it took me, over the course of 10 years, from volunteering to, defending my PhD. It's a long path. There's a lot of challenges. And I think what's really important is for you to find the field, what you're really passionate about, but also the niche that is going to be your own niche. I'm an ecologist, but you could be, interested in the physiology of marine mammals. You could be interested in pathologies. You could be interested in many different things. And what really matters as early as you can is to find your niche. What will define you as a marine mammal scientist? So it's actually really crucial to also have some continuity with the work that you do over time. It doesn't mean that you cannot explore different things. I have personally explored different things. I'm mostly a community ecologist, but I'm interested in, behavioral ecology, and I also do some work in conservation biology, and applied conservation. So, you can do a few things as well. You can become actually whoever you want to become as a researcher. So, that's how, everything got started. A few tips in terms of skills. I think what matters the most to me, the number one skill, one thing that you need to be able to achieve very soon, and that goes with curiosity. You need to be able to know the field. And I was devouring papers, books at the very early age. And I think before I started my PhD, I got a really good knowledge on the literature and the main authors in marine mammal science in general. And I think it was tremendously important to try to define, as part of the process of defining you as a researcher, and to see what are the broad questions that I want to answer. But in order to do that, you need to know the theory. What have the scientists before you, developed as concepts? What are the questions that that you will then want to address, and what are the hypotheses that you will want to test? So you really need to be able to think, and also think outside the box. I think one thing that we see a lot is a repetition of what others have done. And sometimes you also see, I must say, researchers, developing questions without necessarily having the knowledge, or without acknowledging what has been done in the past. The process of science is a process. That's the first thing that I would say. And you need to base your work upon what has been done in the past and not reinvent the wheel. So that's really important, and your readings are very important. Developing skills is very important. You need to constitute your toolbox that you're going to use. Programming, statistical software, programming, using Python eventually, but, using R, I think, is absolutely crucial, because you can do many different things with R. So developing your quantitative skills is very important. It's going to help you throughout, so many fields within marine mammal science. So that is really crucial, and trying to learn new methods. Eventually, developing new methods is very important. One advice that I would give is, one tool is important, but I would say don't put everything into one, technology, for example. Sometimes you see in the literature that technology is great. We learn a lot of new things, but what matters the most is, what is your question? I think marine mammal science has changed a lot. Now it's getting very difficult. There's so many graduate students, many students graduating, and the job market is difficult and very competitive. So you need but I really believe, and I'm the living proof of that, we can all succeed, but it will require your passion to be alive and throughout this whole process until until you retire. Basically, I really think that is what has kept me here in this field, is this immense passion for what I do, the animals that I study, and also then you will develop a passion for the questions you're interested in. So just going back to how this field has changed, I think there's just a whole lot of people. There's so much technology, but there's so many things that we still don't know. And I think there are critical questions that we, and issues that we have not addressed. One example that I can give is, the biggest threat to marine mammals is bycatch in fishing gears. Now we hear and we work increasingly to understand how climate change is going to affect marine mammal populations and aquatic ecosystems in general, but we haven't addressed like the most direct threat to these species, or we have addressed it partially in some places and in some cases. So this is valid for bycatch, but I think there are many more questions in ecology, in behavioral ecology, in physiology, on how these animals impact ecosystem dynamics and processes that we still don't know. So there's a lot of room for many generations of marine mammal researchers, and you can be part of that. So I try to be quick. You can please reach out to me if you have any question, if you need any advice. Always happy to answer questions from anyone. And one last thing that I would say, you don't have to be a scientist to be a marine mammal enthusiast. There are many different people that contribute to the marine mammal, even marine mammal science community. You can contribute differently. So you don't have to be a biologist. You can be a social scientist. You can be a geographer. And I think, putting all these broad disciplines together can make marine mammal science more interesting, especially when different fields collide and you can, create some really good ideas and solve problems. So yeah, reach out to me if you want. My email is available. You can find me online. And I hope that you enjoyed this little presentation. Thank you so much. Bye.